Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Thank you. What a warm welcome. Thank you very much. Well, it's great to be here with you this evening. Today we're embarking on a great journey in service to a high calling, and there's only one way to do that, standing shoulder to shoulder with friends and fellow believers in the cause of liberty, and I am honored to stand here with you. And I am thankful to be standing here with someone else, someone who has stood by me, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, for almost 10 years now, my wife, Hawley. And we've got our two little boys here with us as well, and they sometimes get a little restive when Daddy talks too long, so that'll be good for everybody. But our two little boys, this is Blaze, who's 3, and Elijah, who's right over here, who is 5. Blaze and Elijah are the light of our lives and the joy of our days. Well, if you came expecting some news, I am pleased to say that I have some for you. Today marks the beginning of our campaign to take back Missouri's Senate seat for the people of Missouri and defeat Claire McCaskill. She needs to go. Doesn't she? She needs to go. That's right. Well, I grew up not too far from here on the western side of the state in a little town along a big river, the mighty Missouri. And I grew up hearing stories about Lewis and Clark, who navigated that river to open the American frontier. And you know how it went. Settlers soon followed, and in time, we here in Missouri became the heartland of our great nation that stretches from sea to sea. And I'm here to tell you, we are still the heartland today, and we are fighting for the heartland now, because the future of our country depends on renewing our way of life. America is built on our way of life. Here in the heartland, we believe that it's honest work, not big government, that gives a person hope for the future. We believe in honoring our parents and keeping them close. We hold to our faith, we commit to our churches, we rise for the anthem, and we honor those who have fallen in service to this country. The men and women of the American heartland built this country's prosperity, even as they fought its wars and provided for the less fortunate. They deserve credit. You deserve credit. But now Washington, D.C. disrespects us. It disregards us. The political class doesn't even pretend to listen to us. The liberal elites who call themselves our leaders refer to us as flyover country. And they mean it. To them, we are just empty squares out the window of a jet that's traveling from New York to LA at 30,000 feet. They deride not just our location, but our whole way of living. Hollywood and Wall Street and Washington have worked together to rig a system that favors them, the wealthy and the well-connected, while ignoring the rest of us. And Claire McCaskill is their eager and willing ally. In fact, more than that, she is their icon. These people tell us that we're the past and they're the future. Well, with all due respect, they don't know what they're talking about. And I think it's time that someone in the United States Senate finally stood up and challenged them. I know the heartland way of life because I've lived it. I grew up here in a small town called Lexington, population 5,000. It's a working class town full of hardworking people. Honest folks, blunt, decent. And our town didn't have a lot of wealthy families. Certainly my family wasn't. But people there knew that dignity doesn't come from money. It comes from character. Amen. I learned that from my own parents and from people like Norman and Sophie Vial. They were an older couple in our church, about my grandparents' age. And I remember that Norman, or Mr. Vial as he was to me, used to make all of the chili for our church's annual chili supper every year. We had it every November. He was good at that because that's what he did for a living. He made chili and hamburgers and spun milkshakes at the local Made Right dine-in at the corner, you know it, at the corner of 14th and Main. He owned it, and he ran it for 49 years. And I saw him working there behind the grill just about every day because my school was right across the street. Now, Mr. Viel wore an apron to work every single day, and the work that he did was hard work. It was often thankless. It was never glamorous. But I never knew a more gracious man. And I saw in him what the scripture means when it says that work in the Lord is not in vain. Work that is performed with excellence, with honesty, confers a dignity and independence that no man can buy and no government can take away. Amen. For high school, I went to a place called Rockhurst, a Catholic school in Kansas City, and my teachers taught me there that true success comes not in achieving fame or recognition. True success comes in serving our neighbors and our families and those in need. And they also taught me this, that it is not the powerful or the well-connected who ultimately make history, not really. It is the seemingly ordinary, everyday folks who live their lives with dignity and compassion and grace. In time, I would go off to college and then to law school and other places. And I would meet there people who wore suits to work every day and who lived far fancier lives than the one I had known. And some of those folks rose to be the top of their fields in law and technology. But I tell you this, I never met nobody, whose work had more value than Mr. Viel's. And I never heard any call to service that was more noble or profound than the one I saw modeled in the place I called home. Work and dignity, faith and service, that's our way of life. That's the Heartland way of life. It's who we are. And that way of life, our way of life, sustains the middle class in our country. It sustains our democracy. But you know, our way of life is in real danger now. And our democracy is too. Hollywood mocks our values and our flag while it floods our homes with images of violence and exploitation. Wall Street colludes with government to make the big corporations bigger, choking off competition and squeezing out the little guy. And Washington, they're the worst of the bunch. The DC career crowd has given us an economy that moves middle-class jobs overseas, while middle-class incomes here at home have been flat for decades. Healthcare costs are out of control. Education is so expensive. Not even a second mortgage can pay for it anymore. And opioid addiction ravages our families and our towns. And all the while, the political class looks to their own interests, handing out favors to lawyers and lobbyists and whoever hollers the loudest. I don't know about you, but I think we can do better. I am quite confident that we deserve better, and I know that Missouri is going to demand better this November. And that means one thing. It means Claire McCaskill has to go. Claire McCaskill represents everything that has gone wrong in Washington. She is the face of Washington's failure. She's been in politics for a lifetime, almost 4 decades. She went to D.C. what seems like a lifetime ago, promising to be independent and to stand up for the middle class. You remember that? Well, you know how that worked out. Any way you cut it, she has been a partisan liberal Democrat. She has supported her party's worst policies and joined in their worst practices for years on end. She refuses to work with President Trump, and she votes with Chuck Schumer almost 90% of the time. She's voted to raise your taxes and fees over 200 times. She's voted to raise the cost of your health care. She's stacked the courts with left-wing ideologues. She's backed regulations that are killing family farms like this one and family businesses. She's voted to make the big banks even bigger while the small ones suffocate under Wall Street's thumb. She's not with us, she's with them. And you know, it's no wonder why. It's no wonder why. Just look at who fills her coffers. Claire McCaskill takes more money from lawyers and lobbyists than any member of the United States Congress. She takes more money from the financial industry, it's Wall Street, than any member of the United States Senate. And she's one of the top takers of money from Hollywood. In her many years in Washington, and they have been many, she has done just the opposite of what you sent her to do, and now she has the audacity to pretend that you don't notice. Her strategy in this election is denial and destruction. And if you turn on your television, you can see it at work now. She thinks that if she tears me down, you won't have any choice but to send her back. She doesn't believe she has to earn your trust, just cloud the facts. She'll take Hollywood's money and Chuck Schumer's and do their dirty work. Well, it's cynical, it's condescending, and it's everything that's wrong with our government. We can do better. We can do better, and we can start right now. Missouri deserves a senator who will take on the D.C. cartel, not become part of it. As Attorney General, I took on the big and powerful in defense of the people of Missouri, big tech, big pharma, and the special interests. In the Senate, I will fight to break up the alliance of big government and big business, to end the cronyism and insider dealing that stains our politics and keeps working people out. Missouri deserves a senator who will defend our great middle class, not destroy it. As Attorney General, I've fought Washington overreach and job-killing regulations. In the Senate, I'll fight to end the collusion between government and the insurance companies that makes health care unaffordable. I will fight. I will fight to end offshoring and to get jobs and wages here that can actually sustain a family. I will fight to stop the EPA takeover of our farms. Let me just put it to you this way. I will work with all of my might to get an economy that works for us, not just the elites on the coast, an economy that will sustain our small towns and family businesses, our neighborhoods, and our livelihoods, right here in the place that we call home. Missouri deserves a senator who will protect our families, not endanger them. As Attorney General, I've gone after sex traffickers and put sex predators behind bars. In the Senate, I will fight for families where they need it most. Policies to support marriage and help with the cost of raising children. More affordable education and more options to get skills training so families have more avenues into the middle class. You know, parents also need an ally in the battle against Hollywood and the sleaze and violence it pushes into our homes. And I will stand with parents. And I will always stand. And I will always stand to protect the lives of the innocent unborn. Above all, Missouri deserves a senator who will respect our way of life, who knows it, who loves it, who understands its purpose and its promise. And ultimately, that's what this election is all about. Missouri was once the frontier of our nation, but we have always been the heart of our democracy. Our convictions, our courage, our independence. That's what makes democracy possible. And now it is our turn to lead our democracy to a better day. This year, we will raise our voice against the D.C. cartel and those who corrupt our government. This year, we will take back the right to self-government that the Constitution gives to we the people. This year, we will fight for our way of life. We will defend it. We will protect it. We will renew it for a new day. And as we do, we will open the next great era in the American story. Thank you so much for being here. God bless you.